you get your laboratory parameters. So you'll eventually appreciate all these when you are exposed in the clinic. So as mentioned earlier, this may or may not appear in the ECG, and this may be prominent in hypokalemia. If there is the presence of an inverted U wave, that can signify the presence of heart disease. Okay, so of course you don't need to be very calm because that means you are dead. Okay, so this is the normal ECG activation and the major waveforms of the ECG, and below are the corresponding events that occurs in your heart that is being reflected in your surface ECG. So what is this? The ups and downs in life are also very important, just like in the ECG. It keeps us going with a straight line, even in the ECG, means that we are not done. So be thankful of the ups and downs in life.
I really
Okay, so this is just another. So let's go over how to interpret quickly on the ECG. How to get the rate, how to measure the heart rate, how to determine the axis, and all this. So very quickly lang. I know this is a little advanced, but I think it will help you. So when you determine the rhythm, you have to look at the B to B interval and the R to R, or your atrial and your ventricular waveform. So P to P is your A to A. So that is your P wave, your atrial depolarization. Your R to R is your ventricular depolarization. So a normal ECG should be in sinus rhythm. When we talk about sinus rhythm, the heart rate should be 60 to 100, because when we talk about sinus rhythm, we consider that the depolarization or the impulse conduction comes from your sinoatrial node before it travels into the Purkinje system. So normally that should be within 60 to 100. So anything below that or beyond that, that's already abnormal. So this is the first step. You have to know the rhythm. So is the rhythm normal or not? So when we talk about perfectly normal sinus rhythm, it should be that the A to A is equal and the B to B is equal. So if you measure this one to this one, that should be equal, and this one to this one, and to that one should also be equal. So here, so it's just a repetition actually. So it should be that the P waves should always be followed by a QRST wave to be able to say that that rhythm is a normal sinus rhythm. So next is the rate. How will you be able to determine the rate? So you remember the squares in the grid of the ECG? So when we talk about the rate, we have two methods, the 1500 method or the 300 method. So this 300 method will be dealing about with the big squares, and the 1500 method we will be talking about the small squares. So here you just have to count the number of small squares between the identical point on two consecutive P waves, and then divide that number to get the rate. So 1/5 divided by the number of small square, that will give you the rate of the beating of the heart. 300 method, tinapulan nga style, tinambad nga style. If you are in a hurry, when you are faced with an ECG, you just want to know if the rate is fast or slow, you can estimate the rate by using the 300 method. So you will be dealing with the big squares. Usually we count it as 300, 150, 175, 60, 50. This is the sequence. So you just have to memorize this. You can have an estimate of the heart rate of the patient. So this is an example how to determine the rate. So of course we know that the P wave is followed by the QRS and the T. The second complex is still the same. The third complex is still the same. This signifies that the rhythm is normal. So next we want to know if we also have a normal rate. So the ideal way of measuring the heart rate is through the use of the 1500 method. So you just have to count. So bilangan ni, 1 big square is equivalent to 5 small squares. So 5, 10, 15, 20. And you have 1, 2 here, and another 1 here. You have a total of 23 small squares. 1500 divided by 23. That means the heart rate is 65 and it is normal. So meaning there is normal conduction from your sinoatrial node down to your ventricles. The Purkinje fibers. So another method is the 300 method. So we just have to look at the number of big squares. So from the R wave, you count the number of big squares. So first big square is 300, 150, 175. After 75 is 60, so more or less between 60 to 70. So you can estimate. Okay, sayun na. So, basta, you just have to think of the two methods in determining the heart rate. But if you want to be accurate, think of the 1500 method. So that's more accurate compared to your when you talk about the small squares. So it's just the same. Okay. So when I mentioned earlier that when we talk about irregular rhythm, you will be dealing with a 6-second strip. So not this one, but sometimes the ECG tracing ka ng karaan bitaw kay short ang ilahang complexes nga makuha, like 2 or 3 beats only. So sometimes it cannot reach a 6-second strip. So you might use the 3-second strip if you cannot have it. Kaya kanang tinaas bitaw ng ECG. If you happen to see a long strip of ECG, more often than not, if you just let the machine record for it, you do not do it manually, then you cannot have a 6-second strip. That is more accurate compared to this. But if you use the 3-second strip, the rate per minute is equal to the number of complexes times 20. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 10, approximately. And for the 6-second strip, you multiply it by 10. So this is a 3-second strip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
120.
Times 20. So meaning, patient has an abnormal rate. So it's more than 100. And because, take note, diba, irregular man, the R wave here is longer compared to the R wave here. So when you have an irregular rhythm, you make use of a 6-second strip or the 3-second strip. So what is advisable is the 6-second strip. And if you do the Tinamban style, 1, 2, 300, 150, this is 100, so it's more than 100 but less than 150. So ma-confirm rin imuhang rate. How about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 6-second strip. So how many complexes are there? 7. So this is approximately 70 beats per minute. So this is how you report it. Next is you determine the axis. So the normal axis of the heart is bilang ganito.
90.
Negative 30 to
90 to
positive
110.
90. So you have to remember that. So how will you determine the axis? Usually you look at two leads, lead 1 and lead ABF.
Katong ano.
So normal axis, there should be a positive deflection in your lead 1 and another positive deflection in your
Or to
ABF.
reach daw to
When we
positive
talk about
negative.
left axis deviation, meaning your heart is more or less deviated to the left, so you will see a positive deflection in your lead 1 and a super negative deflection or negative deflection in your ABF. If you talk about right axis deviation, the deflection is negative in your lead 1 and positive in your ABF, and if it's indeterminate, more or less 0. So you cannot determine if the axis of the heart is normal, is it in the left or in the right. So how are we going to do this? Okay. Make use of this one. So try to look at the first figure. So a normal axis should have a positive deflection in your lead 1 and your ABF. So pwede actually napunta siya count kung bilang. So of course, kabalan na positive siya, positive, but where particularly is it located? Is it located somewhere 45 degrees or somewhere in the 0 degree? So kabalan na, so you just have to ground. Para mas dali, kaya I think you will be doing this in your visual lab. So you will have a script in your ECG. So there is a corresponding small square slide. So if you have an ECG script, it will be more accurate the degree that the heart is located. So kana, tanawa. So this is what is this? Yeah. So kung positive, this is the positive. This is the positive, right?
Yeah.
If you remember the first picture, the figure that was presented earlier. So when we talk about axis, so you just have to count the number of small squares. So lead 1, ilang man siya? 5, 10, 15, 21, 16, mga approximately 17. So kung mag-count ng axis, para mas ma-determine na ideally ka na ulutang na ay equal calibration of your graph. So just count 5, 10, 15, 20, so 17 approximately na adilate. So that is your lead 1. ABF is still positive, so you will count going downward. 5, 10, 15, 20. So bilang man na siya, more or less the same, that's 17. So asa man sila mag-meet? So, your heart is
She's so addicted. Look at the next picture. And there's another.
And I didn't even
There, that one.
I didn't even
the axis of the heart.
diba? My father would never. Or he keeps on liking things on my page.
Hindi like si mama kaya we should try.
Yes, that is not there. Dad.
Determine if the overall deflection is
I'm
located
always where parang kung asan yung picture, andun ako.
why problema dito
Where people are in there.
downward deflection. All you have to do is how.
Favorites.
So we plot it here.
It's us.
You have an upward
Neto,
downward
ganda ng
deflection in your
picture.
yeah. How are you going to do that?
We'll do that
You will not
also.
be flat.
Yes, I'll need the first time. Time to do it.
I saw last night an article regarding sa Montana. It's there, top 15 places to go in the Philippines. Already was there.
Ang tapon.
I forgot. But it was kind of normal.
Around here, at 13, but hindi nga nakapag-count sa unang yung pag-skits.
Nandun yung underground.
Wala, bantayan was higher. Amazing.
Mami Anita man
From
kada upload na ko sa ilan.
May block her na.
7 plus 5,
Bad.
12.
No, I will not block her mother.
So remove both positive and the negative reflection. Kaya, ay magkaibaw ka, normal.
I will not block my mother because she's a
Pardon. I just, whenever I post, naka-private lang. Ganun lang. Ano na reply?
So if you have
Ah, may last week.
a trace that is
What is this?
similar to that one,
Wait, if I can
you
get this
have to
button.
look at lead to.
Game over daw.
If it's
Wala tong
not
sound.
clearly seen
Tama.
in your
Because I'm
one
such a
and
monkey.
Your phone can be heard by my record.
so like
What is this? What's this? I don't understand.
reflected on some of the
I think you're dying, Heather.
summation of the
Just
deflection.
press.
You have
Ganda, ganda. Wala na.
positive, you have 4 negative. So 9. So overall, it's a positive deflection. So you can say that this that
It's a bacteria
is still normal.
eating whatever.
Okay?
It's like a red blood cell.
How about when we talk
Oh, wait,
about
let's see.
left axis deviation?
Wait, you did not get the pin. How will you die, man?
To get, ano, I don't know. Oh, you died.
You're dying, Heather.
Wala na. Can't push up.
You're alive. You can. You can. You can do it. You can do it.
Jump first, jump.
Yung mukha niya. Yung mukha niya.
I will try. How much was your score?
2,000 something.
Okay, I will beat it.
Wow. Level 2 lang man yun. Kayang-kaya mo yun. So cute.
What game is this?
Micro, whatever. Micro tap? Ano daw? What
Basta you have to remember that when you talk about the axis, you think of 2 leads, and if the 2 axes are the 2 leads, your 1 and ADF are not,
You'll die right away.
you cannot really conclude that it's
I win.
in the normal axis, then you can take a look at the lead 2. So to confirm that you have you really have a normal axis or not. So plat ra jud na siya. You just have to, if you see a positive and a negative deflection in the ECG, you just have to submit all the forces and the average. That's what you will plot in the graph. Okay? So next, you have to evaluate the P wave. Are the P waves present? Do they have a normal configuration? Are the P waves similar in size? And is this followed by QRS complex?
Oh, you won na.
Yeah.
Okay? So you also have to take note of that. So these are some abnormalities of your P wave. When we talk about the P wave, the best area to see for the abnormalities is your lead 2 or V1. But if you want to know the configuration of your P wave, diba, I told you earlier that V1 is not the best area to determine the deflection sa upright or not. Okay, sometimes it can have a biphasic P waves,
It's very
so it's better.
It's so addictive.
No. Why?
No.